In this episode of Skratch Snobs,
we're going to take a look back at one of the all-time classic juggle routines by Swift Rock.
hello and welcome to episode 6 of Skratch Snobs. I'm Akiko Love.
I'm Mike C.
And we're excited to debut our most popular segment by far, Breakdowns of Breakdowns. In this video series, Mike C and I pick our all-time favorite battle routine, give a technical analysis, and break down what makes this such a kick-ass battle routine. And to debut all of this, we have Mike C to take the stage.
Today we're going to take a look at one of my all-time favorite battle routines by DJ Swift Rock, where he juggles Jackin' You by KNT. Most people saw this routine when Swift Rock did it in the '98 DMC US Finals. But I've also seen him do it at the '98 Freestyle Sessions battle in San Diego when he was battling Petrix. But the very first time I saw him do this routine was, I think, in February '98. There was a Good Times Motorsports battle. You know how back in the day they used to have DJ battles at car shows? You ever been to those?
Right.
So it was one of those. It was in San Francisco.
Wow.
Some of the people that entered were like myself, others from Top Ramen, DJ Remedy was in it, some other guys from Sta entered, and Swift Rock entered and won. And anyway, that was the first time I saw him do this routine.
And that was in 1998.
Yeah, I think February '98.
Wow, okay.
So a long time ago. What makes this one of my favorite battle routines is kind of four things. It's musical, technical, it's innovative, and in my mind, there's no gimmicks. I'll kind of explain more what I mean by that.
Ooh,
No,
okay.
I mean, yeah, we'll get to it.
I'm very interested in what you mean by that. Okay.
No, nothing bad. So it's musical in the sense that you can sing along to it. I mean, if you've heard that routine, you know how he goes. You know how he flips it like dun, 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 and all the other parts. So when I think of musical, I think of something that's memorable that you can kind of sing along with or recreate in your head later. It's also a very technical routine, especially you consider he did it in '98. That's almost 20 years ago. He's really doing a lot to take the existing music and flip it into something totally different. Like, what he does is not just rehashing what is already on there.
Right.
He's like totally rearranging it where it's almost like unrecognizable, really.
And then that technicality seems like it's inherently tied in with the musicality as well, because there's DJs who's plenty technical but may not be as musical.
Right. So I feel like this routine is both. It's innovative in the sense that I used to hang out with DJ Deuce from Sta, so he was Swift Rock's crewmate, and we would talk about some of the juggle techniques that Swift Rock and other guys did. And the way Deuce explained it to me is that this routine is where, if I remember right, Swift Rock introduced his concept of what he called real-time juggling.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? Does that sound familiar? If not, that's cool.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard anyone say it like that, but I have.
Yeah, I mean, I've only really heard that term from Deuce when he was talking about Swift Rock.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, typically when someone does a breakdown style pattern, it's dependent on them. The breakdown or the change in tempo is dependent on them like stopping the record manually, like. You know what I mean? Like typically a breakdown pattern will be based on stuff like that. The concept of real-time juggling, instead of slowing it down by stopping the record beat by beat, you create a different tempo by taking parts of the beat that are already there, and rather than breaking it down manually, you use their spacing on the record to create the different tempo. Does that make sense? He's creating it by like selecting parts of the beat that are spaced out in such a way so that even though he lets those parts play without stopping them, they create a slower tempo.
Gotcha.
When I said that it's a routine that doesn't have any gimmicks, I'm not saying gimmicks as something bad or corny. I just mean like in later times, a lot of people's juggles have come to include like using the pitch control or the 45 or turning the turntable off or, pressing the stop button. The very first version of this routine by Swift Rock, when I saw him do it, he didn't do any of that. I think in later versions, like when he did it in DMC, there was a pattern where he hit the stop button. But in the original version of the routine that I saw, there was none of that. So in my mind, that's like just pure. It's just all record control, fader control. You know, some of the dopest routines have those, you know, quote unquote gimmicks. But what I like about this routine is that it's so sick even without that stuff.
Those elements then.
Yeah, like there's no, in the original version, there was no
Right.
stop button, there's no 45, no pitch control,
Right.
no turning the platter off, none of that.
Right. Because I don't think they were necessarily gimmicks. Like,
No, when I say gimmicks, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean something different than the essential record and fader control.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, I don't want anyone to think I'm like dissing that stuff because that stuff's dope. All right, so now we'll get into looking at the parts of the routine itself. So at the very beginning of the routine, he starts off just juggling the dry part of it, like just drums, no other sounds. In the DMC version of the routine, it's different because, you know, he's like coming out of the intro and going into this routine. But when he can help it, he just starts off by juggling the dry part of the beat, just drums only. And then he transitions out of that intro with the sick chase pattern that I still have yet to learn. So after the intro of the routine, he goes into 3 distinct sections. I really like how this routine after the intro is broken up into 3 really distinct sections that don't sound anything like each other. They all sound different. At least 2 of those segments incorporate that real-time concept that I was talking about earlier. And I feel like they're arranged in the perfect order. Like if you take the 3 different patterns he does in his breakdown, those 3 segments, I feel like if you put them in any other order, it wouldn't be as good as the way he arranged them. There's the first pattern, which is kind of like the most straightforward of the 3. So it's like an intro to the breakdown section of the routine. And then the second part with the pullbacks is what I think of as like the technical part of the routine. And then the third pattern is, to me, it's like the high point. It's like the most musical part of the routine.
Oh yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah. And then he does this sick chase pattern that leads into the next section. Where he's not breaking it down yet, but he's like letting you hear some parts other than the drums.
Is the real time?
Not yet. So that real-time concept I was talking about starts right here. See, like he changed the tempo. It's slowed down from what the beat was originally, but you don't see him like manually tapping the record to change the tempo.
Or...
Yeah, like other people typically do.
Gotcha.
So that's the first section. It's like
that makes much more sense.
All right, it's better when we watch it, right?
Yes.
So then here's the second section of the breakdown. It's what I call the technical part. I mean, especially for 1988, you know, like those pullbacks that are part of the breakdown. Like that was some intense shit, you know. And then lastly, the third section, which to me is like the high point. It's like the most musical part. It's like the crescendo kind of, you know, like, and you see how all these sections sound so much different than each other. So you see he had a part of a pattern with the stop button, using the stop button, but the very first version of this routine that I saw him do, it was like none of that. No stop button, no power off, no pitch control, no 45, just pure record control and, you know, timing, fader control.
No gimmicks. I love this routine. I'm glad that you chose this routine in particular as our debut video. And yeah, I love the analysis. I love how you explained and broke down each segment.
Yeah, it's really like well organized, and I really like how it's broken up into distinct sections rather than, well, he's just doing a bunch of shit, you know? It's
so
like,
yeah. So
it's like orchestrated. Yeah, that's it. That's the first of our breakdowns of breakdown series, where we take close looks at some of our favorite all-time battle routines by other DJs, and hope it helps, you know, DJs of today appreciate what he brought to the table way back when, you know? So rest in peace, Swift Rock.
Rest in peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Skratch Snobs, Breakdowns of Breakdowns. A special thank you to Mike C for the expert analysis. Please like, comment, share the video below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, spread the love, and we will see you next time. Peace and love.